Rebecca West Hensinger, you've done an awful lot in your career so far, and you've achieved an awful lot. I actually can't memorize it all, so I've made notes. I'm just going to read off some of your accomplishments. You're a certified instructor in Pilates, yoga, cycling, aerobics, silver sneakers too. You have a degree in elementary education. You are an IronMan triathlete, my favorite event to watch every year on TV. You're a sober advocate, a custom cookie maker. You're a mom, and you were crowned Mrs. Pennsylvania of 2019. You've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, somehow. And you know what? I've done everything that you've listed. I've done all of that since I turned, all that has been done since well after I turned 30. I'm 44 now. And, you know, just as a side note for Ironman Triathlon and triathlon in general, I noticed that women in the 40 to 45 age group, they are the hot group. They're on fire. I mean, that is one of the most competitive age groups out there. They are hot for that success. You know, in my 20s, maybe I wasn't as motivated, my early 30s, getting there. But once I hit around 35, something in me told me I had to be full steam ahead. Yeah, everything that you mentioned, I started in my later 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've got an awful lot of years ahead of you, so it's going to be interesting to come back in a few years, see what else you've accomplished.
God willing.
Yeah, most definitely. Did you decide to do Mrs. Pennsylvania before or after becoming a fitness trainer?
So I worked in fitness since 2005. It's been 20 years. It's been 20 years now. So I decided to try to do Mrs. America well after I entered the fitness realm.
What was the most demanding part about training for something like that?
You know, the mental preparation. The mental preparation for sure, because the competition's in Las Vegas. Arriving to Las Vegas and being amidst 51 other very accomplished women from all across the country, the best of the best. It really was mental preparation of how do I see myself? How do I see myself winning, even though the odds aren't good for anyone? But what is the mental state that I have to be in to get the most out of this experience, do the best that I can do realistically, and walk away feeling content? So the mental preparation was everything.
Sure it was. Was there a point when you were competing for Mrs. America that you felt out of your comfort zone? If so, when or where was that? How'd you deal with that? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. You know what was interesting? So my state director told me that I shouldn't have my hair like this. So I've had bangs since I was 4 years old. It's just always kind of been the way that I styled my hair. But after I won Mrs. Pennsylvania, the director said to me, I think we should get rid of these. And I was really uncomfortable with that because while I was certainly willing to take direction and make any kind of adjustments, I still wanted to remain true to who I was. And even though it's just hair, it doesn't really matter, but it's part of who I am. A lot of people in my life can speak to that. And so the first 3 days, I wore my hair the way that this director wanted me to. And then by the fourth day, I was a little tired. I, missed my family. And I was like, you know what? I want my hair back. I want to feel like me. It's weird enough being in full hair, full makeup, glam for 7 days. And by day 4, I was like, I want to feel like myself. That's how I feel the most comfortable. And so I had the stylist put my bangs down. And I swear, Joe, it's like people started seeing me for the first time. And I don't think it's any coincidence because I think I carried myself differently. I think I walked with more confidence because I felt more like myself. Kind of a strange answer to say when I had my usual hairstyle, but that's really what it was. And I did end up making the top 15, which is the first cut. They cut from 52 to 15, and I did make top 15, which was more than good enough for me.
It's phenomenal, it really is. For that lady that's watching us now and is thinking, hey, I want to do that, what's a good first step for somebody to jump into the beauty pageant world?
I would say do your research. Look around online because for women of any age, there's a lot of different organizations and systems that you can get involved with. Find the one that really matches up with who you are and what's important to you. I wanted a full experience. I wanted to be on that Vegas stage. It was held at the Westgate Resort, which is where Elvis had his residency. So we were on the stage where Elvis performed his very last concert. So I wanted the whole thing.
Very
Just
cool.
find a system that resonates with you.
Very cool. I think that's a great advice. Switching gears from beauty pageant to Ironman. How many Ironman triathlons have you done? I couldn't find a total answer when I looked, but I know it's a lot.
Yeah, it's we did 8 halves, so 8 70.3s, and we did one full, the 140.6. Yeah.
Wow. What's your best event in a triathlon?
I'd say the bike, because when I first started off in fitness, so I was a personal trainer for a few years, and then I decided to get into group fitness. So I did my Schwinn cycling training, and then I did the spinning, the Mad Dog cycling training. So when I started to train for things off of the stationary bike, I found that I already had, what did a friend say to me? He's like, you already have the motor, because cycling is HIIT training. It's interval training, and that makes you so strong and able. So once I got on that bike on the road and got used to being on the road rather than the stationary bike, I was literally off to the races. Yeah.
Besides the actual event itself, what's the hardest part of training for a triathlon?
The time, it's a huge time commitment, especially for the 140.6. You almost have to be in a relationship with your training. Luckily, my husband and I did all of these races together. We've done everything, the ultra marathons, halves, everything. We do it all together. So it was never a hardship for our relationship, but I do know from many conversations that it can be a boiling point for a marriage. Yeah. But the time that you need to commit is substantial. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to do very well out there. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, well, and like everything else, you have to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and like anything else, you have to be prepared too. You can't expect to just walk into something without reviewing or preparing or even mentally getting yourself ready besides the physical part. You have to have that preparation. There is no luck. It's all preparation.
In your opinion, what's harder, training for an Ironman or the Mrs. America pageant? I had to ask that question.
I know. That's a good one. Both of them are mental, right? Both of them, you have to talk yourself into it. You have to, it sounds a little cliche, but you do have to envision yourself being successful. You have that vision. Like, picture yourself as an Ironman. Picture yourself crossing the finish line. Picture yourself with someone putting a crown on your head and what that moment might feel like. To me, a crowning moment and a finish line, they're kind of intertwined. They're like this cool relationship. And there was a point in my life where I couldn't get enough of both of them. But the harder training, I'm going to go with the Ironman. Physically grueling.
Both are, in their own sense, athletic events.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say Ironman tough, but again, never done either of them. But so I was just curious what your perspective was. Curious, when you were at the AAAI Atlantic City Convention, did you do the Burke Park statue with the crown over the head that they have?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Even though it was raining. Yes. I saw it right away. I'm like, I know what that is. That's it. That hotel itself, where AAAI is across from the convention center. For anyone interested in attending the conference next year, staying at the Sheraton Convention Center, such a cool hotel. It's full of Miss America, just icons, dresses, shoes, crowns, scepters, really cool hotel. The whole Atlantic City experience was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome.
I did the Miss America crown too, but nobody wants to see that picture.
Iconic. I mean, Miss America was held in that boardwalk for years and years.
Decades.
I wish they would, decades. I wish they would bring it back there, but the world of pageantry has changed so much. Even in Miss America now, there's no swimsuit, there's no gown. Yeah, they've changed the configuration of the organization so much. It's almost like a public speaking contest. So something is a little bit lost, like a lot of the traditions have been lost, but coming to the hotel this past weekend and viewing all of those things on display, just brought me back to, in my opinion, the way things should be.
I would think the Sheraton would have some special place in your heart since you've done the competing yourself.
Yes, so cool. So cool.
It is. It very is. Really is. Switching gears again to Pilates, and you were teaching a Pilates class at the AAAI convention. I'm curious, you've been doing it a number of years. Do you remember your very first Pilates class? And if you could go back in time, would you tell yourself to do anything differently?
Yes. So do you mean the first class I ever taught or the first class I ever took?
The first class wow, that's a really good question. The first class you ever taught. Would you have done anything different when you taught your very first class? Or was it perfect?
Not perfect, and still not after all these years, but the ongoing training, the ongoing education, the ongoing being a student yourself is what makes you a great instructor. For sure, and I will die on that hill every day. And even in the training courses, I say to students all the time, be a student first. Be a student first. Go to as many classes as you can. Listen to cueing. Figure out what resonates with you. What cueing is clear. What cueing is not clear. What would you do differently? What does it look like the class understood versus what people are looking around like, I don't know what he or she means. But as far as my first class, I wish I just would have relaxed a little bit. And I write everything down. I still write a lesson plan for every class. I used to be so glued to that lesson plan. It was almost like a security blanket, if you know what I mean, for any newer instructors out there who just got their certifications. You know, having that plan, having that structure, and taking the time and energy to really plan your class because it's important to you versus being so stuck to it. I wish I would have put my paper down and have just relaxed and attempted to connect with the people more because I was so inside my head. And I think a lot of us feel like that sometimes. You're trying to get it right. You're trying to get all the cues right. You're trying not to miss a thing. But in the end, as long as your people are moving safely and it's maximum enjoyment for them, what could be better than that?
Wow. Good answer. Yeah, it's a really good answer. Here's another interesting question that I think maybe new Pilates instructors may be interested in. Is there a checklist of things that instructors might want to do before the class begins?
That instructors might want to do.
Yeah. And again, if you want to expand on that, anything the person taking the class might do before the class.
So good. Give me 1 second, Joe. I'm going to bring you the book that number one, first and foremost, everyone should read. You can get a good shot of my home Pilates studio back here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can get a shot of my messy little office.
Yeah, this is my office. So here I have a reformer here. And then here I also just invested in a chair, which is a spring-loaded small apparatus. Very challenging. Always just looking for new things that I can bring my clients that I see in my home studio.
No, that's neat.
Yeah, it's super cool. First and foremost, any teacher or student who really wants to get into the Pilates repertoire should read this book. So this is Joe Pilates' book. It's called Return to Life Through Contrology, which is a term that he coined that means control of the mind and body, which really is what Pilates is. So this is Joe's original book. It showcases all 34 classical exercises demonstrated by Mr. Pilates himself. Yeah. So mat Pilates and what we certify here at Trip, we certify mat. We don't certify any large or small apparatus just yet. I think that's coming very soon. Hint, hint. But these are the 34 exercises, and there's a lot of books that you can buy that shows you modifications and different things. But this is straight from the horse's mouth. This is not abridged. None of this is modified. These are his 34 exercises to be done in a particular order in a very precise way. So if you're going to be taking a classical mat class, this is the guide. This is what I cue from. It's good to familiarize yourself. Now, there's differences between contemporary and classical Pilates. I go over that in course 1 and 2 that we offer. They're very different. But classical Pilates is the 34 exercises, and that's it.
I did not know he wrote a book.
It was first published in 1945.
45, wow.
Yeah. So this repertoire has been around forever. Classical Pilates is my passion in life. I love the classical repertoire. There's just, to me, And I feel like I've taught it all except Zumba because my body doesn't move like that. I feel like there's just no better full body workout than the classical 34 exercises. Very, very challenging, but it has a beautiful flow to it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very
so this
neat.
book, student or teacher.
So you've been teaching these classes for a really long time. Is there a story that jumps out at you where you're like, wow, I really made a difference in this person, or this person had a transformation, without naming names?
Yeah, I can think of 2 or 3 students right off the bat just in the last 2 years who have been coming to my classes consistently. And I always tell people I have the coolest job in the world because I watch people change. I watch their bodies change. I watch their mindset change. I watch them grow in confidence. And there's 2 or 3 women who I've worked with in particular that started out literally square one. And there's a exercise that we do. It's exercise number 3. It is called the rollover. If you can see it, you have to get your feet behind your head. This is very advanced. Even though it's only exercise number 3 out of 34 and the list is progressive, look how he starts you off right off the bat. And not many people can be successful with this on day 1. I always remind people to stay consistent. And I've watched 2 or 3 women over time be able to barely get their legs here, 90 degrees. I've watched them move to feet behind the head, toes in contact with the floor. And okay, this is no small feat physically, right? But mentally, that's really something to feel yourself start out from square one and then move to full execution of the exercise, and just the confidence that comes along with that, and the celebration and the joy. And these women never thought that Pilates was for them. Because Joe, I think that, not to be too long-winded, but we're in a little bit of like a Pilates tsunami right now. It's everywhere. It's all over the internet. People don't even know what real Pilates is and what it isn't. Social media has a lot to do with that. And some people don't think it's for them, but really it can be for everybody. So just watching the transformation that people have made, priceless.
When you look at Pilates being done on social media, does anything jump out at you? You're like, yikes, probably don't want to do that.
Every day, Joe, and not to be a downer, not to be judgmental, but this repertoire is precise. And it has everything to do with alignment. And people will watch a video, newer instructors, right? And then just try to bring it to class. It's an epic fail every time. Because unless you've been trained using a manual, unless you've gone over these precise exercises with somebody who can really walk you through it, and teach you how to walk other people through it, it's an epic fail. It's not safe, or it's not optimal. I don't want to say correct. I like the word optimal. How are you going to optimize this movement or this positioning for you? Is
there some sort of a tell that somebody watching us could say, "Ooh, I can take that, and when I look at other people on social media doing Pilates, it'll say, I don't think I want to do that." Is there anything that when you see them doing this, you say that's a telltale sign of somebody who may not be certified or whatever?
Yeah. So anybody who is comprehensively trained is going to tell you so, usually in their bio or in a post or in some kind of thing. And the name should be recognizable. It should be reputable. But people here, just very quickly, as far as form, people who don't keep a neutral spine, I don't want to get too detailed into it, but people who will arch their back during exercises on reformer, chair, or mat aren't engaging their deep core, right? And they're loading their lumbar spine too much too. So anyone who's just kind of throwing their body weight around, having a big arch in their back, like if you could think of somebody trying to hold a high plank with a big arch rather than tucking navel to spine. So I could see it right away. It's all about body alignment. Reputable social media, I could throw out a few names like Pilates Anytime is a good one. Balanced Body is a good one. STOTT, STOTT is a good one. Okay. Just really have a discerning palate with who you're going to get your inspiration from.
Have there ever been any embarrassing moments from a Pilates class that have stuck with you over the years?
Oh my gosh, So many, so many. I had someone who had their pants fall down. Yeah, in front of the whole class. I never saw them again. You know, a lot of our positionings help with digestion. I'm a 200-hour yoga teacher too. So there's a lot of asana or poses in yoga that can aid in digestion. And when that all happens, there's a lot of bodily functions that follow. So almost every day. I mean, there's even a classical reformer exercise called stomach massage, and it means a massage of the internal organs, and things happen. It's just
No, I can imagine what you're saying. And I'll just share my pro tip. Don't eat chili before a yoga class. And
yeah,
I'll
like
leave it
don't go to Chipotle. Just don't.
Now that you are the teacher of these classes, are there any questions that usually come up in class over and over that you might want to address here for people who want to be Pilates instructors, just to maybe save them a little bit of time and frustration?
Yeah. So a student will say to me, I love this so much myself. How do I get started? How do I see myself in this role of going from student to teacher? And I always remind people, there are two different things. You could be a super strong practitioner or student, right? But then when you have to get up in front of a class and not physically do the class, but cue people through it, using your memory, your brain, and your verbalization is very, very different. It's exhausting in a different kind of way. I mean, when I teach 5 classes in a row, 3 days a week. And by the end of it, I'm driving home like, nobody talked to me. The brain fatigue.
Sure.
You have to be aware of that. Like, you can love the practice, but can you get it in your words? And that's where, again, it comes back to just going to a lot of different classes and listening to the cueing and practicing it yourself is the hardest part. Getting the verbiage in your body, in your mind, and then transferring it to other people. And the Pilates certification that we offer, the level 1, or we call it phase 1 and phase 2, is a great way to start. But can we teach you everything in one day? It's tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's a certificate in hand. You'll be prepared, you'll be ready, and you'll be excited. But I always say your education should certainly continue.
Oh yeah, being a lifelong learner can never hurt you.
100%. Don't ever be complacent in that. And actually, in the last training, somebody asked me, so it's 34 exercises. Don't people get bored? Is it enough? And if you're doing the classical repertoire, this is what you're teaching, and it is most certainly enough. Most certainly enough. These exercises are honed by you over the years. They're forever changing. You're forever getting better and stronger and more agile and able to transition from one to the other. I mean, look at some of these.
Yeah, it's impressive, especially that bottom one. I can't do that.
These are the 4 steps to open my rocker, a very difficult exercise. But yeah, the 34 is certainly enough. Have your own practice and just always be in a state of trying to learn more.
Right. I think that's an important quality for everyone. None of us are experts. I always get a kick out of people online who say, I'm an expert in. I don't think any of us become experts. You know, we get tangentially closer to the expert world, but you can always learn something new. Even me. I mean, I've been investigating supplements for 30 years. I always find something new that I haven't learned before. So,
cool. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, research changes and you keep up with the times.
Exactly. Switch gears, for somebody who's not an instructor, but somebody who wants to take their first Pilates class, is there anything they should know ahead of time or do ahead of time before taking that first Pilates class?
Yeah, I would say, well, definitely bring water. I have had people who show up without water. I end up giving them mine. Dress comfortably, for sure. Bring your own mat. So some studios will let you rent or borrow one. There's a lot of these exercises where you are face down, laying prone on the mat with your forehead, your nose, and chin to the mat. You want to make sure for hygienic reasons that it's yours. So invest in a mat. And not just any mat. I'm not telling you to go out and buy anything remotely expensive. But go on Amazon and look for a thick yoga mat of at least a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch of thickness. Like here's my mat here, if you can see the thickness. That's a thick mat. You want that because there's a lot of these exercises that are done rolling back onto the spine and you need padding for that. hydration, comfortable clothes, bring your own mat, and make sure it's thick. Like one of those thin yoga mats is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. There's a lot of things done kneeling, like a high kneel and a low kneel. So you just want to make sure you're padding all those bony protrusions, elbows, knees, even tops of your feet when you have your weight on the tops of your feet. So go for an ample, thick mat.
Interesting. If somebody is proficient at yoga, would they automatically be proficient at Pilates?
I love it. I hear so many people are like yoga or Pilates. So that's like yoga. That's like stretching, right? Wrong. So super wrong. So yoga and Pilates are like very distant cousins. Like it would still be okay and legal for them to get married, right? Or somewhere down the line. Like they're related, but like it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to do it. Yeah, because both practices require just a mat. So mat Pilates, just a mat. Yoga, just a mat. And yoga asana, depending on what kind of yoga you're practicing, there can be a set amount of poses done in a certain way, similar to classical mat Pilates. But the exercises and body positionings are totally different. But I do draw a lot of my Pilates clients from the yoga classes that I teach every week. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I wouldn't think one would automatically mean you're good at both of them, but as you said, they're kind of kissing cousins, but they're distant kissing cousins.
Yes, it's a very common thing. So mat Pilates and yoga, sure, similar. But when you get into things like what's behind me, small and large apparatus, very, very different. So reformer Pilates is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Super difficult, but you have to know how to cue people through it safely. Case in point, I know somewhere, I won't say any names, but just last week, someone wasn't cued through something on the chair properly, and they pitched forward, and they have a huge black and blue mark on their forehead, huge black and blue mark on their shoulder, and that is the worst possible thing that could happen to any one of your clients, is for them to have an injury under your watch because you didn't know how to set them up properly.
Right.
It's the worst.
No, definitely the worst possible scenario. Switching gears from Pilates, one of the most interesting things that I found out about you was that you are a sober advocate. You've gone into schools and you've talked about substance abuse, and I just thought that was phenomenal. It's definitely something a lot of people don't talk about. And I actually interviewed another personal trainer who he's actually a lawyer as well, and he does this sober advocacy as well. I'm curious, for somebody who's gone into the schools and you've talked to kids, is there anything or something that schools may be missing in terms of substance abuse education they could do better?
It's tough to say because, I'm of the DARE era, and they tell you, her slogan was just say no. But they never told you why it is just say no, And we're in a different, kids are a lot, just because my background before fitness was education, and I was a kindergarten teacher. I think kids are a lot more awake today. They have a lot more stimulation coming towards them. They're given more choices than we ever were as kids. I don't ever remember being given any choice, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I think kids are very, very overloaded, but they're also more cognitively awake. So if we want to say, just say no and kind of really drive that point home, today, in this day and age, we have to tell them why. We have to tell them why. So when I was Mrs. Pennsylvania, my platform, or the issue that I really spoke for, was drug prevention and education, because prevention is everything. But education is the key to that. So going in and talking to students very candidly about things that they might find at home in any medicine cabinet, things that they might see family members doing, maybe even their immediate family, and just laying the groundwork for that. How does somebody act when they're under the influence of something, and never asking, anyone to raise their hand. Or some kids have shared things, but just kind of getting the conversation in their own head started. A lot of kids grow up with parents who use substances and fall into bad patterns and, patterns of abuse and addiction. And kids just think that that's how everybody's life is. That's how it is. They don't know any different. But hearing from someone that, this is not okay, and the way that it makes you feel like there's people you can talk to, just for kids to know that there's open doors at their school, It's any way to get a conversation started. So there just needs to be more conversation.
Are schools set up to have counseling for kids who need substance education?
Yeah, in my experience, I think they're pretty well on their way to it, for sure. And I presented in inner city schools. I grew up going to an inner city school myself. So I worked a lot with inner city schools because I just feel very connected to those populations. But then I also presented in schools, way out in the suburbs or in rural areas. They're very different, very different. The problems that each one of those demographics face are very different, but one is not more important than the other. And addiction knows no boundary. It doesn't matter if you're from downtown whatever, or if you were raised on a farm. It does not show it doesn't skip by a certain population of people. It could be anyone and everyone. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because you have more experience with this than I have. You teach about it, which is great. I was telling the story recently. I was in a supermarket last month, and we all walk around, we have our phones in our hand, and it's almost, the phones are addicting as well. But there was one young lady in line a little bit ahead of me. She wasn't holding her phone in her hand. She was holding her vape pen in her hand. And I literally said to myself, holy bloody mackerel, these vape pens are more addictive to the phone. She didn't have her phone anywhere. And I think the vaping is a problem in this country. I actually went to kindergarten with a woman whose son almost died from vaping a couple of years ago.
It can happen.
And they think it's okay. And for whatever reason, these things are still sold at Wawa's and 7-Elevens, and I don't get it. But
a lot of money off of them, and that's a big thing with teens now too. And there are a lot of programs in school that talk about the dangers of vaping, but the conversation needs to start at home. The parents have to talk to their kids about these kinds of things. So my son is 15, and I have two stepkids, 16 and 18, one about to leave for college. My husband and I have had really candid, sobering conversations with them. You cannot try anything. It's not like maybe back in the day where you can try this or you can try that. But right now, the substance is called fentanyl. Is being snuck into everything. I mean, cocaine, it's being pressed into pills that can mimic something else. So anytime you buy anything off the street, there's a very good chance that there will be fentanyl in that substance, whatever it is. Like I said, even a pressed pill, even a joint. You cannot buy anything from the street. And it's not a matter of morality anymore. It's a matter of life and death, because the amount of 3 grains of sugar, 3 grains, is an overdose. And you never see that person again. There's so many parents out there who have lost kids who were not, there is no typical drug user, but didn't have a drug problem. It was their first time. There was a woman I interviewed a while ago who lost her twin boys the night of their graduation party because somebody was passing around pills. These kids weren't drug users. They were like all-star hockey and baseball players, and they both overdosed on the same night. And they weren't bad kids.
Yeah, just terrible.
Can't try anything. That's what we've driven on. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very sad. It's just it's a national security problem.
It is.
It really is. And I think people even in the fitness industry may abuse substances, whatever they might be. Are there any telltale signs that you have noticed that somebody might recognize where, hey, personal trainer is on maybe something, and how might they approach them in an unconfrontational way to say, hey, I'm here for you, I can help you? And have you ever encountered anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I have had to put out PSAs on my social media asking people not to come to class high. And it's not any kind of judgment or dig on anyone who uses marijuana or whatever. But when you come into class reeking of smoke and the room is somewhat small, that smell fills the entire room. Everybody experiences it. Some people are very sensitive to it, such as myself. And also from a safety standpoint, so anyone who uses any kind of substance and comes to the gym, whether it's Pilates or a gym, it's, your reaction time isn't what it should be. You could really hurt yourself. So
I agree.
I have put out PSAs, like a public service announcement, like, you're going to smoke, fine. Please don't smoke in your car and then come right into the studio, because we're all experiencing it.
Yeah.
So I think just being upfront with people.
I think our leaders failed us when they basically legalized it, and anybody can get a medical marijuana card. I've looked at the criteria. Anyone can pass this online questionnaire. I know they want to make money from it. I get that, but why not just legalize the gummies and nothing else? Because they've discriminated against the rest of us that don't smoke this. Because I've never used it, but I smell marijuana every day.
And
I'm sure I have smelled it in the gym occasionally.
oh,
When I first did it, I thought I was imagining things.
no, you're not.
Um, yeah,
I'm
it's
very
like really.
not it takes a lot to rattle me, but when somebody or some people are doing something that affects my whole class, I need to be the advocate for that class, and I will always speak up.
Switching gears again, go back to your Mrs. Pennsylvania days. Your question is, how would you enhance health and fitness among the American population if you could wave your magic wand?
Boy. Well, if I was at Mrs. America asking that question on stage, which they do ask you a question on stage, it's the most terrifying 30 seconds of your life. You look out and there's all these stage lights, so you can't see anyone, but you know there's a table full of judges looking up at you. And people on camera at home, online, on TV, and the whole audience. So if this was my Mrs. America question, if I could wave a magic wand, I would say it all comes back to good parenting. I think it comes back to instilling good habits in your children, because they take those habits with them through their teenage years and then into their adult years, and they pass those down hopefully to their children too. So you can start when your kids are young. If you're a parent yourself, what are some ways that you can model a healthy lifestyle and then also give it to your own kids, just by the way of things that you keep in your house, things that you offer. And can your kids watch you prepare food instead of just grabbing it somewhere? Can they watch you go through the steps? Because that's a life skill. Cooking, food preparation, and planning is a life skill. Lucky for me, my mom is a chef, and my grandma is she's 94. She's the most incredible homemaker ever. She made everything from scratch. So I had a lot of good examples, which is why I think I have the habits that I have today.
So a strong, healthy family is a strong, healthy America.
That's it. I really do think it all comes back to the family. There's no substitute.
I agree. And on another front, I read that you are planning to climb Mount Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, so it must have been outdated information, but we did. We did, yeah. We climbed it right before COVID. It was February 2020. I remember coming back into America. We had a stop in Ethiopia. I was barefoot in the Ethiopia Addis Ababa airport, and someone was talking about some kind of virus, and I'm like, that was the last time we left the country for years. But yeah, we did. We summited Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. Because it's a dormant volcano.
How did you train for that?
Not much, because I was still doing IronMan. That and the endurance element really did prepare my husband and I.
Right.
It was a different kind of endurance. It's time on feet. It's about 10 hours a day. But we had an awesome team.
Was it harder to go up or come down?
Coming down was awful.
Yeah.
I loved the summit. I loved the hike up. There was so much anticipation. Kilimanjaro, you start in like rainforest, right? And then by day 3, you feel like you're on Mars. Nothing can grow there. There's nothing. And then you wake up at midnight on summit day, and you get supplemental oxygen, you get everything ready, and it's snow. It's all snow. And it's uphill. The person in front of me, their foot was in my face the entire time. That's how steep it is. It was so grueling, especially at midnight and at elevation. The elevation messes with you mentally. I feel like somebody spun me around 5 times. You can't collect your thoughts. My husband was like, you need to count your steps. Just count. Think about the count and nothing else. And that saved me, because mentally, so you get to the top at about 6:30 a.m., but you can't stay up there very long. You can literally snap a picture, do a little happy dance, and then you must lose elevation, because you could get all kinds of bad things can happen to you. So you have to descend fast. And then the descent takes 2 days, and you're like...
Rebecca West Hensinger, this has been a fun conversation. We covered an awful lot of topics, which I really want to do because you've had such a wide range of experiences. How can people reach out to you if they want to connect and learn more about Pilates and all the other stuff you teach?
Yeah, so I'm super active on social media, so my Instagram handle is just at Mrs. Rebecca West Hensinger, just how it's spelled down there. And that's how you can find me. Also on Facebook, but Instagram is probably better. And I'm pretty responsive to messages, so I post all the things about AI that are coming up, trainings and tips and things like workouts you can do at home fairly often, so maybe see you on there.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.